this is an interesting group of folks right here. This is on Real America's Voice, Dr. Gina, and her show. Largely, Real America's Voice is like an adjunct of Frank's speech. It is kept almost entirely afloat by Mike Pillow's promo codes and this woman in the middle of the screen's glower. It is a frown that can sink boats and rise tides. And it wasn't enough to give him a red wave, but what the fuck are you going to do? Now, this one says, this is Lieutenant Steven Rogers, not to be confused with my favorite superhero, Steve Rogers, who remained at a captain, even though I feel like he could have, easily made general. We're seeing the first, we're seeing the 21st century evil empire in action. Now, presumably they mean China. At this point, they definitely don't mean Russia. We're pretty sure they just mean the Biden administration, for reshoring chip factories and passing an infrastructure bill and getting the lead pipes out of the ground. It's terrible. I know. All right.
We spent a lot of time on last night's show talking about this, about China, about
China.
Freedom.
Dr. Gina talks about China.
Have just been stripped away from the people there, about how the Chinese Communist Party locked onto power and eliminated and silenced any of their opposition.
Yeah. 5 decades ago.
During the Chinese Civil War, where the Chinese nationalists were at war with the communists who were backed by the Soviet Union, the communists, led by Mao,
everybody taking notes,
turned people against their fellow countrymen. Rich versus poor, the working class versus the business owner, the peasant versus the landowner. How similar does class warfare sound used against its own people? We're seeing this here now.
No, we're fucking well not. There are not large groups of renters murdering people who own apartment buildings and killing priests and burning down temples and destroying religious and cultural texts. We haven't looted museums and set fire to them. Fuck you.
But in China, businessmen and landowners were demonized. It became moral, the right thing to do, right? To kill a landowner and take their land. The communists were for the working man, they said. And they said they would make everybody equal if they would join the civil war to defeat the Chinese nationalists. Long story short, the nationalists retreated to Taiwan. The communists took over China.
By the way, this is obviously Cliff Notes. But again, reminder, Taiwan was never under the CCP. Hasn't been. So this idea that they're going to claim Taiwan is ludicrous. Because the CCP is not China. Any more than Republicans or Democrats are America. As much as Republicans, by the way, the Chinese Communist Party and the language of the Republicans often overlaps in this whole real America. That if you're real Americans, take our country back, blah, blah, blah. Like the language you hear about the right wing, especially, very similar to Taiwan as part of China, one China, uber alles.
Himself the ruler over China and Taiwan. And to this day, as you know, China still claims Taiwan. Now, after the communists took over the country, they cracked down on anyone who disagreed or dissented in any way. They took the land away from the peasants and it became the property of the state. The economy completely plummeted.
Oh, the irony.
Productivity plummeted as well.
And by the way, there's a lot of I got to understand, I'm bored too, but this is the first time a lot of people watching Real America's Voice are seeing this, and they're chewing during the entire thing, so they're only catching about half of it.
Communists had to turn people into slaves, killed about 5 million of their own citizens.
Try 30?
That, my friends, is how communism works every time. Now, in current day, the peasants are rising up again, this time because they are...
Well, the peasants and the people going to the really fancy universities and the middle class and, yeah.
Tired of the communists and the oppression in the CCP. And perhaps the scariest part of this whole situation we're seeing right now
is that blouse.
How we see so many parallels here in the United States to what...
No, you don't. Piss off.
They're watching go on in China under the CCP.
There are fucking zero parallels. If you tried to do a gymnastic routine on parallel bars that separate, you would die.
Left, rank and file, they don't recognize it, but you and I see it.
Well, of course we do. You and I, Dr. Gina, we see China for what it is. Vagina.
We're going to stay on top of it on this.
Oh boy, are we.
Program. Lieutenant Stephen Rogers is a retired naval intel officer, and Katie Arrington served in the Pentagon during the Trump administration.
Okay, so maybe she can tell us about Trump's bank account that he still has there. Now. Today.
They join me right now. Good to see you both. I tell you what,
maybe she could tell us about Ivanka's products that are made there now. Today.
Say the words Trump administration, and I realize in my head over and over again, this would not be happening right now.
That's true. Because Trump would be siding with Xi Jinping against the people, and you go, well, he's a strong guy. You got to give him credit for that.
We still had Donald Trump at the helm. Lieutenant, I keep looking for...
But is that the helm? Is that one of his golf courses?
Hope that these freedom fighters can actually win against the CCP.
Well, one man's freedom fighter is another man's Foxconn employee.
But as we discussed on this program last night, since...
Yes, please remind us. I missed it.
They aren't armed. They don't have a Second Amendment right. I don't know how they can win against an armed, militant, tyrannical style government. Is there a path to victory for the people?
Dude, if in any large-sized country like that, if you had protests like they have right now and people had guns, it would give the government an excuse to murder people. Are you out of your fucking mind? You imagine throwing guns into the mix of this situation? The Chinese government wishes there were guns involved so they could just kill these fucking people and say it was a coup. They literally could, because they have control of the internet over there, they could concoct someone that they were all following. They could digitally take all the blank pieces of paper they're holding up and they could put somebody's fucking face on it and go, these people were followers of, Li Junman, and so we had to put them down because they were violent and they were killing everybody.
There, Steve?
There is, and we saw that path to victory against the Soviet Communist Party when Ronald Reagan was in office. What we're seeing, Dr. Gina, is the 21st century evil empire in action. Those of us in the intelligence community always knew it wasn't a matter of if, it was...
This dude, is there a single piece of Americana regalia behind him that you cannot buy at a truck stop besides the flag and the Reagan picture? Seriously, like the Liberty Freedom picket fence thing, the USA above him, even the boat. Like, I've seen these at gas stations in my driving across the country.
Matter of when, and when is now. Now, you mentioned in your opening that the Chinese Communist Party are silencing their people. Well, they've been very busy for the past several years, maybe a couple of decades, trying to silence the United States government and other governments that would speak out against them. And how did they do that? Well, compromising Joe Biden,
Again, based on fucking what? If any of that shit is true, why are we siding with Taiwan? Why is Joe Biden saying we would defend them with physical force and our own troops if they were attacked? Why? If he's compromised, show me how it's benefiting China. Honestly, if Joe Biden took $1 billion from the fucking Chinese, the dude suckered them. Like, it was the biggest, gotcha bitch in American history.
Hit administration. We have CCP police departments in New York City, in Toronto, Canada.
Yes, which is obviously Toronto's under Biden's jurisdiction. Also, they were there during the entire Trump administration. You're only finding out about it now, and we're brooming them because Biden is in office.
All over the place, trying to compromise those of us who would stand up and speak out against them.
Oh, so somebody tried to honeypot this fucker, and He's like, not so fast, Maylin. I'm not falling for it. Yummy.
Very concerned about their image worldwide. Make no mistake about that. But once we get a new administration in, a new president in, and we're going to be able to talk to them through strength, not through wokeness.
Strength, not wokeness, instead of weakness. I see what you did there. We did have that president in. All of this shit still was true. What the fuck did Trump do? He worked on a 3-phase trade deal with them. He raised tariffs on some stuff. Standard run-of-the-mill import-export bullshit. By the way, excluding his daughter's trademarked items. But please tell me again how Biden, who's opening more chip factories in the United States than at any time in history, specifically through that support, and by the way, partnering with the Taiwanese to make sure that the factories they have there can duplicate and create those chips over here in the United States, in fucking Arizona, by the way, that making them over here so that if China did attack Taiwan, our national security would not be endangered. The fuck is this guy talking about? I still haven't figured it out. They bring this shit up all the time.
We spent a lot of time on last...
What? Wait, was that the end of it? Hold on.
Police departments in New York.
Oh, yeah, that's it. That was the whole thing. Shit. So basically, this guy is just he's just there to say like 3 or 4 talking points, which have died on the vine. Trolls, maggots, you guys can, maybe some of you assholes can explain this to me. What is it specifically? Give me some specifics. What is it that Biden has done that in any way benefits the Chinese Communist Party in terms of our national security, our financial well-being, anything? Something. Chuck it in the chat. What is it? And don't tell me shutters on his fucking lake house. I'm still trying to figure out how they even say it. Yeah, run, like, I mean, China's never been more isolated. We're delisting companies from the stock market. There's way more fucking limitations on Chinese business in the U.S. The tech sector alone will put China back 10 fucking years. And by the way, none of it is special to right now. None of the stuff that Biden is doing couldn't have been done during the fucking Trump administration. None of it. Yeah. Honest to fucking God, I don't know what they say this so often, and I have yet to see any of them, speak to a specific policy of any sort. Because he fell off a bike, right? Right, the infrastructure. And by the way, again, the biggest solar panel factory in the Western Hemisphere is in Marjorie Taylor Greene's fucking district. Thanks to Joe Biden. Thanks to the infrastructure bill. Thanks to the rescue package, which had more climate, beneficial renewable energy tech in it than even the 2009 rescue package. Not a single fucking reference. Not a one. What is it? Please, and I'm by the way, audience, I'm asking you guys, if you see any of these folks say the Biden administration did this for China, or China is getting this benefit from us, please let me know what the fuck they're saying. I haven't seen, and you guys know we cover these kind of videos and this kind of claptrap all the goddamn time, and yet I have not heard a single goddamn reference in the whole thing. Not one of them where like, oh, this tax break that or they allowed us satellite technology or nuclear secrets about any of that shit. Like, we have never been We've never clamped down harder on sharing technology with China in American fucking history than under Joe Biden. And again, most of this shit was possible during Trump. He just didn't fucking bother. I guess that would be the other question for the maggots and the trolls that are out there. I see you. Why didn't Trump bother? Why? If any of the bills Biden passed to reshore factories and support those kind of things would have passed with both Democrats and Republicans if Trump had tried to do it, why didn't he? Why didn't he do it? Nothing. Fucking nothing.